pretty long day. Some people as early as 5 a.m., I gathered, were already at their polling unit, wanting to be the first person to cast their vote. Good for you. And some arrived there pretty early. INEC officials didn't show up that early. And just before tables were set and everything put in its place, some polling unit started pretty late, about 10 a.m. But a good number, apparently, in the federal capital, about 9 a.m., they were good to go. So we got quite a number of the feelers coming from different directions and also from across the country. A good number of places went pretty well. However, there were reports of pockets of skirmishes, violence, disruption, and destruction of ballot papers also, which is quite sad. And hopefully we get to speak with Thompson at one point to get the update from the Lube axis, where he shared a bit of information as to how it was disrupted there also. We'll talk with him. And to help me wade through, the election day conversation for this hour, I've got with me in the studio Dr. Majid Dahiru. And Dr. Majid, I know you've been on TV.
Yes.
We were watching also because at one point we were linked.
Okay.
So yeah,
Election
thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you very much for having me here today.
And, some places, just a few places, voting is still going on, but a good number of town, it feels like they've wrapped it up. INEC chairman has said would reconvert tomorrow for the collation of this result at the International Conference Center, 12 noon. So people are just waiting with bated breath to see how we'd reconcile all of the figures. It's flying together.
Very interesting.
And for you, election day, was it something that you envisioned, how it played out?
Yes. I mean, all of the elements, really. Even the disruptions, the pockets of violence, and the tightness of the race was all along predicted. I mean, way ahead of even the commencement of campaigns. We said, look, this is going to be a tight race, a race that nobody can predict. As we speak, it is still unpredictable as we speak. Even though some snippets of results are coming in here and there, unconfirmed results, but from party agents flying in here and there, you can see that each of the candidates, 4 of the leading candidates, as predicted, are holding their grounds in some areas. So it's an interesting one, and the democratic awareness in Nigeria has actually grown over time, and this election is actually a testament to it. So the only thing we can pray for is for security agencies to arrest the incidences of violence quickly, bring the perpetrators to book in line with the Electoral Act. I mean, other forms of electoral violence, including voter suppression and intimidation, attempt to get people off the polling units to not to vote because of their ethnicities or religion, are all electoral offenses. We want to see security agents being very proactive in arresting this ugly situation, while INEC too should also increase its capacity towards making sure that it gets voting materials and personnel to areas that are yet to get in the country. There are some places in Nigeria today that have not seen voting materials and INEC officials, including the ad hoc staffs, in their voting area. So they need to fast track this. There is still time. People can still vote at night, but let them make sure that there is no part of the country that was supposed to vote that they didn't vote.
But this talking about people can still vote at night is something that I thought would have been able to address, given the fact that there was an attempt to decongest polling units and more were created and people even reassigned to different polling units. To seeing that, we don't have too many people crowded in one polling unit and you're very snappy with it. By 6 p.m. and the likes of it, you're done and know your position there. But due to the late arrival of some of the INEC officials, we're seeing this play out. But people would fear also that sometimes when it drags even further into the night, it gives room for all kinds of unpredictable.
When INEC was making these plans for this election, they didn't know that there would be cash crunch and fuel scarcity. And it was actually, expected to affect the logistic arrangements of the election. Thank God that they got cash from CBN. Otherwise, it would have been far worse than this. And so I'm sure they're trying to manage and make the best out of a very terrible situation. But that's not to excuse them anyway. But this is just like, the best they could still do within the very difficult circumstances. Thankfully, we saw an easing of petroleum supply of petroleum products in the past 1 or 2 weeks. It has improved, even though there are still queues, but it has improved. So if the petrol scarcity was as biting as it was a few weeks back, and INEC didn't get money from CBN directly, as they couldn't get from commercial banks, I doubt if the election would have even taken place at all. So I hope that they will continue to do the best they can, even though the situation is a bit tight, to make sure that they meet up with, the voting demands of Nigerians. So I'm sure they would have done much better if these were normal times. But unfortunately, these are not normal times. So I think they are doing the best they can within the limited resources available to them.
That they have.
Yes, and in the face of the challenges you're facing with petroleum scarcity too. So I just think that, by and large, I think they've done pretty well. Yeah, it can be better, definitely. But I think somehow they've done well, and people's votes seem to be counting in this election. We've not seen incidences of.
But isn't that too early to call at this point in time?
Well, you're right. I'm just saying from the feelers, you are very right. Very, very right indeed. So we are hoping that what we are seeing, especially in Abuja, will be the situation across the country. We are hoping so. But otherwise, well, INEC has done its own part. But politicians must always try to undermine the process.
Yeah, maybe Abuja, not so much of it, except from the reports coming from the Lube axis, or one of the polling units there. Yes, which is something, hopefully we'll speak with one of our correspondents to give us a clearer picture of the situation there. But then you follow also the reports coming from Lagos, and you start to wonder, when are we going to get an election where blood will not be shed? Like the brazen disruption of the election in some polling units is amazing.
It's really disturbing, and that's why I expressed worries about security on election ahead of this election. I don't know why in Nigeria electoral violence is condoned to such an extent that it has become a defining, in fact, the permanent feature in our electoral process, as though electoral violence is part of our electoral process. So when you're going to elections, you make contingency plans for violence. It is part of it. It's inevitable. And security agencies appear to be at their lowest on election day.
Okay.
They don't enforce electoral laws on election day, particularly as it pertains to violence. I don't just know why police officers on duty have this lukewarm attitude towards electoral violence. It's like an abdication of responsibility. Yeah. And I had advocated long before now that, look, we should all put the government on the hot seat because they are under the employment of government. The president is the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces in Nigeria, including the police force. They must be given marching orders to enforce electoral laws on election day. And indeed, every law of the federation in Nigeria. One of the days you can commit a crime and get away with it is on election day in Nigeria. It's seen as still fighting between two political, so that's no problem. And this is also because one of the major electoral expenses for traditional political forces in Nigeria has to do with huge sums of money that are deployed to compromise security agencies, such that they are there to carry out premeditated security arrangements that shields their paymasters from the wrath of the law. It's there. So they have an order to say, look, when you see social party, this is the thing, turn the other eye. So the time you see them act is when there is no such arrangement. You see them at their best. Or if you are strong enough to actually get them to help you enforce law. So you have to also compromise them to help you enforce the law. So it's a serious issue that needs to be dealt with. We take election in Nigeria as something that is not so serious, that is a dispute or quarrel between two political foes. And it goes way beyond that. Election in Nigeria and anywhere in the world is the high point of leadership recruitment process. That is the final stage. And Nigeria is a democracy, so elections will always be used to appoint for us or employ for us our democratically elected political leadership. And so, if the system itself is compromised and violence is allowed, or what I call electoral banditry is allowed to take place, it will produce nothing other than administrative bandits in power. Because they got there through electoral banditry. You don't expect them to, go against a system that produced them. So it is important that electoral violence must must be prevented and punished.
But the thing is,
Whenever it
why we've
happens.
not been able to do that, get a hold of it. I mean, I was listening to the last briefing just before the election by the INEC chairman and the Inspector General of Police, telling us about the last-minute preparations, the number of security personnel deployed to different parts of the country, setting states and strategic areas where
we
there'll
saw
be a
people
bit
with
more
long-
security
we saw
density.
reports, we saw,
Yeah,
true
when
or
I was
false.
driving back to the office, I saw some intense vehicles, the
so you're
military
wondering-
patrolling the whole area.
So of what use are all of these deployments if the kind of things we are hearing from Lagos could still happen on election day? I mean, it tells you that the state is not ready to fight this. And again, it has its roots in our political culture. You know, each time I emphasize the fact that Nigeria's political process is primarily driven by identity, politics of ethnicity, and religion. These two factors also triggers for violence. And so over time, it appears as though the state itself, the constituted authority of the Nigerian state, appears to have caved in under the weight of identity politics. And so you find out that law and order has been compromised on the altar of ethnicity and religion at different stages. And that is why, apart from even enforcement of electoral laws on election day, even the everyday enforcement of law and order in Nigeria appears to be challenged. Because cultural factors arising from ethnicity and, of course, religious factors often undermine the enforcement of law and order because those that are supposed to enforce the law and order themselves are product of this system. So, to them, they find no scruples subserving law and order or subsuming law and order under the yoke of ethnicity and religion. To them, there's no problem about that. So, another policeman who is a part of this system, who has paymaster somewhere, who also subscribes to this system, see nothing wrong, for example, if people that are considered as non-natives, non-indigens, are harassed out of polling units in certain areas of the country where they reside because somebody from the community, son of the soil, is contesting for that same position. So it's like it's condoned. That's what do you expect? You to respect yourself after all.
But I've heard some argument to say if they come in large number with weapons and you have a policeman who, how much arms does he have on him? What can you do at that time?
Okay, I'll tell you something about election security, the way it's structured. First, before those that are armed get to the polling stations, the polling units, those thousands of soldiers and policemen that are deployed are on patrol. Each polling unit has a patrol attached to it. So the man you see at the polling unit without arms is simply not to scare away people, not to look as though the place is militarized. His responsibility is when he notices anything at all, he simply calls, communicates the nearest patrol team to come in and take care of the situation, which he rarely ever does. So he sits there, they come, they do what they do, and they go. And it's not a sanction for abdication of responsibilities or dereliction of duties. He's never sanctioned. It is condoned. There's no problem. Nobody sanctions anybody to say, look, how are you at a polling unit? And this happened. And you didn't call for backup from the thousands of soldiers and policemen that are patrolling this area. He never does that. He will never do it. And nothing happens to him because there is a fundamental compromise of state authority on the basis of politics of identity, of religion and ethnicity. It is fundamental. So we need to have guru identity politics post 2023, and it's a challenge for the incoming leadership. Otherwise, we'll be having this conversation in the next 4 years.
Sadly. Let's go on a very quick break. We'll be back with more. Stay with 95.1 Nigeria Info. And yes, for those of you who are still at your polling unit, would love to hear from you.
Audio Jungle.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
The essence of deploying military, police, civil defense, and others if they cannot prevent the ballot box snatching and also prevention of thuggery, like has been reported from different parts of the country, particularly Lagos, River State, where we've seen that happen. Kogi State also had feelers of smashing and destruction of ballot boxes, which is equally troublesome. You know, you start to wonder about our growth when it comes to election, if we're growing at all. But Dr. Majid, we also need to touch base with people out there. If collation, you're done with your polling unit or they're still voting there, please let us know as we're having a conversation with our guest, Majid Dahiru, with us in the studio. We'll take feelers from those who are listening to us also. 0700 951 0000, or you can call 0809 5974 869 or 0809 9930137. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Kim. How are you doing today?
I'm fine and well. You're welcome. What's your name?
My name remains Mr. Peace.
Mr. P, good to hear from you. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Day.
All right.
Saburi 1 and Saburi 2. I want to say hi to Dr. Majid. You know,
Good evening, sir.
Good to have you around, my brother.
Very much, sir.
Enjoy all your analysis, most especially on every Wednesday. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, we're talking about the situation presently at Saburi 1 in Day. You know, then they're still voting. You see long queue.
There's still vote in Saburi 1 Day. We just need to clear. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yes. They're still voting in Saburi 1 Day. You know, long queue, people are still there, and I'm afraid there's going to be a kind of a light to provide light at the end of the day and things like that. Saburi 2, same, because you have a lot of people around and things like that. And everything has been so peaceful, no wahala, no snatching of ballot boxes and all that. I mean, I think it's okay. And any report or any result coming out from this place, I think it should be okay.
All right.
Report for this. That's it.
Thank you very much for bringing us up to speed with that. We appreciate. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, ma'am. You're most welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Let's hear someone else. And if you were at the polling unit in Lugbe, would love to hear from you also. Hello.
Hello, Kimber. I greet you and I greet you, Majid. Oku is my name.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Majid. Oku is my name.
He heard you. Go ahead,
Good evening,
Okwi.
sir.
Yeah, we are finished voting, count everything. No problems on our side.
All right, that's good to know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Okwi. Hello.
Hello. Good evening to you, Kim.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Yes, Dr. Majid, good evening to you.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir, you are someone who, we wish, we had a leader like you. And honestly, we're always inspired, by your analysis. And may God bless you. God can bless you enough. But from our hearts, we're always with you.
Thank you very much. God bless you, too.
Today. Yes, sir. I voted today, and sir, I would say, well, I was lucky, to be among the first two people that voted. But sir, like we can hear from other places, sir, this voting process has not been up to, expectation. It has not been up there. It has not lived up to expectation, and it does not tell well of the INEC, sir. They have totally disappointed Nigeria. I arrived my polling unit at 6 as early as 6, a.m. And it was after 9 to 10 that we started accreditation. And, sir, honestly, this INEC has to do something because Nigerians are feeling disenfranchised. And the way they have gone about this thing, in short, sir, is a total disappointment. We should not, pretend about it. So, honestly, they have to do something about this process, or else Nigerians will not trust them. And they have
All right, sir.
inspired that confidence in us. Or else, in short, this does not tell good about them. So
All right.
Something must be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear two more and then we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Majid. Don't worry, we'll take as many people as possible. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, this is IK coming from G Ladder.
All right, IK from G Ladder. What's the situation? Your polling unit,
Yes,
are you guys done?
Well, Dr. Majichi, well done. No.
Good evening, sir.
I hope you have voted.
I couldn't vote
you are
because
doing
I
a
couldn't
great
talk to
job
my
for
village.
coming. Thank God will bless you for coming to studio
Thank you,
today.
sir.
In my side, in our side here, everything go normal. But one side in Gwagwada, the people come there and scatter all the everything that everybody run away. Inside of gone to the side in Gwagwada. But my own side, we vote peacefully. Everybody have gone. But what my question is, why did they want to delay this result till tomorrow? Is it not? Is it good? They could have started today and even stay mid to tomorrow, because maybe if this continue, maybe some people will manipulate the result that everybody have voted already.
Okay, let's
So
not run into town with that.
Huh?
Let's not start to sow fear in the hearts of people.
Okay, we believe God will help us. So
All right.
votes must count. Too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Yes, when the INEC chairman with the last briefing saying that the collation center will open by noon tomorrow,
Yes.
I know that it took some people by surprise who were thinking perhaps the collation will start as soon as possible, late into the night, early hours of the morning.
No, it actually starts, I think, the next day after election. Because Nigeria is actually a vast country.
Oh, yes, it
It will
is.
require a lot of logistics to bring back these results to the headquarters here for collation. So it's not true. 24 hours after voting, yes, it's fair.
Now, to bring back, we're just looking as if we're not in a modern time where from the state level the needful is done and
But
relayed
most
back to
advanced
the
democracies with
headquarters.
such large numbers, even in the US, for example, it took like a day or two or even 3 for the final results to come in. So it has to be sorted, it has to be counted, it has to be verified. You have to count the ballots. No matter how you use technology, you must count the ballots. So starting from tomorrow by 12, I don't think it's bad. So by Monday, for example, we would have been sure of who the winners are at various levels and those who have lost. But again, in a democratic election, if it is democratic, if it is free and fair, all we want is for this election to be free and fair. If it is free and fair, if it's transparent, if some of the concerns that some of the callers have expressed are actually quickly corrected, something is done about those concerns, and people are convinced that this election is a reflection of the reality on ground and the wishes of the Nigerian people, no matter how long it takes to collate, people will accept it. So the most important thing is for elections to be credible. And this election has to be credible. It has to be credible.
Why do you insist?
Because
This particular one.
there's
Every
too much-
election should be credible,
I'm
but
saying-
it feels like there's so much hanging on this particular
Because,
one.
you see, Nigerians have decided. This is the first time we say this election is like no other before it. People don't understand why. Between 2015, or let's say 1999 to 2015, political parties and political processes in Nigeria largely revolved around professional politicians. You know why? Somehow the government between 1999 and 2015 managed to provide minimal welfare and security to citizens. Minimal. There was a growth progression in Nigeria. Insecurity was there, but not on this scale. Not on the scale we had in 2014 and 15. There wasn't terrorism for the most part of the first 60 years of our democratic experience. So a trader will go to work, go to their place of trade, and make ends meet and kind of have progress in life. We had a struggling middle class that was still trying to grow. So things were a little bit okay until the failure of government itself became so pronounced that by 2014, Nigeria was ravaged by insecurity and terrorism, Boko Haram terrorism. And between 2015 and today, we've been battling with both terrorism on all fronts, from across the entire country. And the economy has tanked. So there is an awareness now that you can no longer stay in your shop as a trader, on your place of work as an artisan, and have no interest in who governs you. So it's not clear that the policy of government or the mispolicy of government affects your trade, affects your individual economy. So there is a renewed interest now. And that's why I'm saying the surge. People going to vote, they are beating up, they'll come back to vote. People don't realize.
There's a video of a woman who was brutalized and she had, her face patched up.
Thank you. So
with
the
bloodstains
interest
on her
is
t-shirt.
very high now because Nigerians now know that everything depends on politics. In fact, I had to write an opinion piece, which I addressed to the NLC to say, look, politics is the fourth factor of production after capital, land, and labor. Politics, the management of all of this, is the fourth factor of production. And so labor, and by this I mean everybody that is involved or engaged in legitimate means of livelihood, you belong to the organized labor family, must have more than just a passing interest in politics. You must decide who should govern you, because you now know that politics has a role to play in the means of production. It is fundamental. So that's what you're seeing today. Everybody's interested. Before now, people are drinking beer, playing football, people are resting at home on election day. But no, it's no longer the case. My neighbors woke up as early as you can imagine to be at their polling units. People that ordinarily will not vote, even the elderly people that have never voted before, they're having first-time experience as voters. So we must make this election free and fair. Otherwise, we will not be able to manage the aftermath of it. So please, it doesn't matter who wins this election. Please, the credibility is of utmost importance.
Well, in good number of the polling units, there were impressive turnout of people.
Very impressive.
Quite impressive. And it'd be nice to see what the figures are at the end of the day of the total number of voters from those who collected their PVCs. Asiru Abba says, I voted peacefully at my polling unit in Guabolada, but I'm saddened by the unpleasant report coming in from Lagos. INEC needs to step up and do better than what you're doing now, is what he said. Reading off a comment on our YouTube page. I see quite a number on Facebook. I will try to get to your comments in a bit to read them out. Please keep them coming. I will get to them shortly. And we're getting reports from Rivers State, one of our correspondents there in Rivers State from Obio Akpo registration area 15 of Rumo Kini Ward 15 polling unit 008 at the Rumo Kini playground opposite Civic Center, that some party agent hijacked INEC material, drove off with INEC officials and security personnel. They all entered the black 4Runner Jeep peacefully. I couldn't take pictures. I had to run for safety due to the method at which they went there. One of our correspondents reporting from that particular polling unit shared pictures and videoed the much that he could with us there. That very long queue of a number of persons were yet to vote, as at 6:09 p.m. he counted about 80 people who were still waiting at Nodu Town Hall, Okpuno 2 polling unit 010, Oka South Local Government area of Anambra State. A different reports coming in. The development is due to late arrival of electoral material and personnel. And sorting of voting going on at about 6:07 at Nodu Town Hall, Okpuno 2, polling unit 009, Oka South Local Government area of Anambra State. And that's just the update. So we'll be following up on the polling unit where he said that party agent snatch. He did mention the political party. I would verify and mention that. And okay then. Thank you very much. We'll be speaking with that correspondent to get a bit more of the update from him. So, Dr. Majid, who would have thought that in this time and age, with the advancements we claim we have made, people can still just remove ballot boxes and papers and move with them? Party agents.
The most important thing is, how come we've amassed such an armada of security agents across the country, spend so much on them, and they cannot prevent the snatching of ballot boxes, even when some of them are present at the polling units where these things happen. I saw a video where a policeman was standing and just looking on while people were harassing citizens away from voting, along with their citizenship rights of democratic choice. So it tells you that the security mobilization has fundamentally failed. It just tells you that there is a high level of compromise that simply makes security mobilization for election a thing of showmanship.
Yeah.
Why the security does not actually happen? I mean, nobody so far has been arrested that I've seen. Nobody will be prosecuted for this matter.
Well, some arrests have been made, in all honesty, in some parts of
I've
people
not
who were
seen-
either disrupting and all of that. Quite a number of
I've not seen any.
people who have been picked up.
When I mean arrest, it's not to sit some people on the floor and begin to interrogate them. Arrest means you take them into detention. You should, normally, when you arrest people that are destroying or trying to disrupt elections, you take them straight into the police station and detain them there. You don't just apprehend a group of people and sit them down on the floor, and after a few minutes, a call comes in and we no longer see them. That's not what I mean by arrest. The real arrest, handcuff, you put them in handcuffs and move them into a detention facility, incident their offenses, and prosecute them by tomorrow morning in the nearest magistrate court. Quickly. That's what I mean. We've not seen that. And usually on election day, it doesn't happen. Somehow we have surrendered election day to be a day for free for all, where anybody can do anything to anybody and nothing happens to anybody.
Yeah.
So electoral violence has become like a permanent feature of our electoral process. So we need to actually begin to call to question the relevance of all of these mobilizations of security forces for election in thousands. Yet this thing still happen. So ordinarily as human beings too should have evolved beyond snatching ballot boxes on election day. But I insist, what you see happening, violence, monetary inducements, and all sorts of compromise are functions of identity politics. There's no country in the world, from Somalia to Iraq to the old Lebanon before it became a failed state, or to even Syria, anywhere you have politics of identity as its driving force, you would have electoral-related violence. It happened in Kenya, for example. Like in the case of Kenya, you have power struggle between the Kikuyu tribe, the Luo tribe, and the Kalenjin tribe, for example. So it was always violent until they somehow managed it.
All right.
Yes. If you look at Somalia, of course, the clans are split down into 100 pieces. And so every element of violence you see in Nigeria happened in Somalia even in the 70s, which led to its eventual collapse. The same thing with Iraq. The Shiites, the Sunnis, and the Kurdish people are in a mortal combat for the soul of that country. So the politics also is violent, and it's based on patronage. Lebanon, for example, it is the same thing. Between the Shiites, the Sunnis, and the Maronite Christians. The power tussle in that country has rendered that country impotent. The elections are violent, to the point that a prime minister was even assassinated through bombing. So you see the same signs you see here are manifesting in some of those countries. So the solution will be to begin to unite this country after election and heal our divides. So that we won't have this repeat of ugly incidences in the next election.
All right, we're still trying to get a hold of our correspondent in Port Harcourt to give us a bit more of the details there. And Udua Clement Ona says, okay, how's the election going? Onoko from Rivers says, thank God I just casted my vote 29 minutes ago. I did, and someone else is saying, I did mine at 10 a.m. at Modern Secondary School, Maitama, but the officials are finding it difficult to upload the results. Same issue with lots of polling units around Lake Chad, Maitama axis there due to network problem. Too early, not a free and fair election, Chidi Ugochukwu is saying on our Facebook page. And Hafsat Muazu, we see you. Please, what's the presidential result so far? We do not have result. We cannot call result as INEC's responsibility. The Collation Center opens tomorrow. And once they are opened and the results are officially declared by INEC, you will get it. For now, do not speculate. Do not go with any report until it is done by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Yakubu Haruna said, I voted in my polling unit today before the rain started, but everything went well. No problem in my polling unit in Kuje Gobe. Thank you for the update since morning from the studio. My regards to Dr. Majid. All right, let's hear more calls and we continue with Dr. Majid. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, you're welcome.
Hello?
We can hear you, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Majid. From Gwangolada.
Yes, sir.
Happy election day to you.
Which you saying?
It seems INEC bureaucracy was busy addressing a public relation issue, not facing squarely issues of electoral challenges on the ground. There are a lot of electoral challenges today for the voters. People couldn't locate their polling units. Some where they voted last general election, their name are missing on the register. A lot of things. Up to now, some people have not cast their vote, and they are willing. They came out very early. In my center here at LEA Ungondodo, people arrived as early as 6:30. We are there. It is after to 9, and the officials started coming. So God so kind, I voted. But Hebra,
they couldn't vote. Several, even 100 couldn't vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Abubakar from Gwagwalada. Hello.
I'm sorry. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. You're welcome.
Majid, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Happy to hear your voice. Hello?
Okay, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you, ma'am.
Hello?
All right, apparently she cannot hear us. Please call us back. Hello.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Polling unit PU 14 and 15.
All right.
So there are over 100 people still doing accreditation. And over 600 waiting on queue this morning to vote. And there's no light here. But trying to put on light when the people can see, although the parents not be able to see anymore. And there is there are two policemen here, two security, and there are so much crowd here. And polling unit, there was no thing, there was no voting. I keep like no thing voting there. There's no voting there.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing the update from your polling unit. We have one of our correspondents, Chinatu of WAZOBIA. Let's join him to get a few more updates today. Hello, Chinatu. Good evening. Can you please unmute? If you can hear us.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome, Chinatu.
Good evening.
We can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, am I live?
Yes, you are. You're live on Nigeria Info FM, Chinatu.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm at 037 polling unit, and that's in Army Estate in Kurudu.
All right.
So this is 6:49. Elections are still on. I mean,
The voting is still on.
voting. And that's the update here. Well, I've interviewed one or two persons, and they said the INEC officials came late. At some point, they had this little issue with the beavers machine. But that was sorted out, and then they continued. So if I can just turn my camera, you would see that people are still around the polling units. And then, hello, can I?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. So there are a lot of people still milling around.
Yes, something funny happened. If you can see the voting point. So the ballot box got filled, and people were so enthusiastic enough to find cartons and buckets so the voting process can continue. So if you can zoom, you will see that there are big cartons on top of the ballot box. So, well, that's it. Apart from that, everything here is peaceful. People are ready to vote. People are enthusiastic to see how the elections will round up and who will be declared winner in their polling unit. So, apart from that, that's it. I must commend people. I was in a polling unit in Peggy, and, I met with a man who went out and bought ink for almost all the units around there because they ran out. So, yeah, that's it. As for Caro, Jikoi, Peggy, Kurudu, and let's say Nyanya, and then Karishi, everything here is peaceful. The presence of security personnel, it's okay.
All right.
I'd say it's okay. Just that, hello?
But going by the video you're showing us, there's still quite a number of people who are yet to vote. You start to wonder how dense that particular polling unit. Are we looking at one polling unit here, or are there several polling units in the same area? Because there seem to be quite a handful of people still out there.
Just one. Apparently, it's just one polling unit. So they came late, and then...
How late is late? 10-ish or later than that?
Well, around 9:10.
Okay.
So I heard. Yes. So, and at some point during the 12-1 period, they had a little issue with their beavers machine, but that was sorted out later because they had to wait, call in some engineers, and then they got that sorted out. But right now, you can see people are still there.
All right.
And the way it's going,
all right.
They might still be here till 7, 8, and they're ready to wait.
All right, Chinatu, thank you very much. At least it's good to know that it's peaceful and people are still as orderly as expected, and hoping that they can get this concluded in good time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the update, Chinatu. All right, that's our correspondent with the update. I saw from the video they've positioned cartons there. Ballot boxes are full already, so they're improvising.
Nigerians are resilient, and they've turned out in large numbers in some areas.
Yeah,
to actually make
because the number is impressive. What you have there as at 6:53, you still have this large number of people out there.
That's why the rains were. It's very impressive.
All right, talking about impressive, we have more of our correspondents who will be joining us intermittently. But let's hear 2 callers, then we continue with our conversation. I think we'll just hear this caller and go for a quick break. Hello.
Hello, Kim. Good evening.
Good evening. You're welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Maji.
Good evening, ma.
My name is Apostle Paul. I'm calling you from Maraba, out of Pada to be precise.
Welcome, Apostle.
Polling unit 006 and 007. Nothing is working here. Let me just put it straight. INEC officials came to this place after 10, and polling unit 006 contained about 2,700 voters, while polling unit 007, ASO Secondary School, contained about 2,800 or something. Kim, if you come to this place now, the people that are queuing that have not been accredited, there are more than 1,000. Both ASO Secondary School, ASO Pada, and ASO Junior Secondary School. This is the situation here where we need illumination here. There is no light. In fact, it's only one youth corps that is doing the whole signation. So everybody is stranded. Even when rain was falling, people promised to remain inside the rain. Rain fell on us. Rain stopped. We are still on a queue. And no, in fact, there is no sign that we'll finish by 12 noon tomorrow, honestly.
Wow.
That is the situation here. Now you can send anybody here. ASO Primary School, that is polling unit 006, ASO Pada, then ASO Secondary School, polling unit 007. The people that are on the queue here are more than 500 people in ASO Secondary School. INEC did not come on time. That is one of the challenges. And people are ready to vote, but now that is number one. Number two, so many people don't know where their polling units fall in. A lot of people have been disenfranchised because they don't know where somebody is in ASO and his polling unit is in Karu. His polling unit is in Massacre. Old women that cannot even transport. Some people don't have transport to go to where their polling unit is. There are some people where their polling unit, where they used to vote before, they came here today to discover that their polling unit has been changed and the information was not passed across to them. So they are angry that INEC disenfranchised them. Now, that is number two. Number three, to be honest with you, people that want to vote in this center, there are many. But the only INEC officials that are here, only one youth corps will be signing about 3,000 ballot papers. Only one. And they say it must be only his signature, and it's not passed. So those are the challenges we are facing here. Me, I have just voted after reaching there since 7 o'clock this morning. I just voted. There are a lot of people that will not vote today. I think I'm one of your correspondents. I would have given you a video shoot to see what is happening in ASO Pada Secondary School here and ASO Junior Secondary School. That is the situation here. So many
Thank you very much.
The people that did not know their polling unit here, there are more than even people that are voting. There is pandemonium, confusion. Now, I was using my 2 Android phones, helping them to locate their polling unit. You know, there is how you follow, you put in their data into polling unit location in ANEC portal. That is what I was doing. In fact, one of my battery went off. I was helping them. Why I left there? Because I have not voted after that time. I have to look for my own polling unit. So people are helpless. I help as many people I can. That is a challenge.
All right, sir.
You're supposed to be here to be telling people where their polling units fall in, or they have a system to help people. It is individual that was helping people, that have been helping people up to today.
All right, sir.
Situation report, send somebody to ASO Primary School and ASO Pada Secondary School.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. God bless you too for that. And thanks for helping out. So, Dr. Meji, I mean, from even when Abubakar called, he was saying it seemed like you were concerned about one thing and ignored another part of it, which is very evident in terms of the late arrival of materials, late arrival of INEC officials in quite a number of places. And then you also look at the density in some of the polling units. Like we mentioned, impressive turnout of people. And then in some polling units, but then the position of INEC over time with even the off-cycle election is to have at least 700 people in a polling unit and have 2 BVASs to have people distributed. The post office where I voted, I mean, at first they even locked people outside the first post office gate and refusing them to go inside.
Wow.
It felt chaotic at first.
It was actually chaotic.
So chaotic.
That's
There were a
the
lot
word
of
to
people
use.
milling around and so you can't come in. We have to get them in trickles before eventually I think it was about 2 p.m.-ish. They decided, okay, go in and form extra line. We have 2 backup.
I mean, voting shouldn't be this difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't be queuing for petrol, queuing for money, and then we're queuing to vote. The truth is, I hate to say this, because I feel that sometimes we need to encourage ourselves, encourage institutions of government. But what it's looking like is that INEC is overwhelmed by the surge of voters in this election, the turnout and all of that. So maybe somewhere, somehow, they didn't make proper arrangements for what we are witnessing today. But I just hope that Nigerians will somehow manage through, cast their vote. But what we're seeing is like a democratic revolution of some sort. And so Nigerians are coming out in line, and they're very willing and are serious to vote. We've never witnessed such before. We did a little bit of this, of course.
No, there were impressive turnout in 2015.
2015,
Quite
but
impressive.
what we are witnessing today is something that is phenomenal. 2015 was still somewhat restricted within the periphery of traditional establishment politics. You know, there were people that were still not so concerned about politics. You know, they didn't know how much politics affects their lives. So the awareness that came into public.
We had a large number of people who registered, if you're looking at during the CVR process.
It was because of the awareness now that, look, what we've gone through, particularly in the last 8 years, is enough to wake people up to the civic responsibilities of choosing their own political leadership. I mean, it's enough. So, if we had it rosy, many people wouldn't have seen the need. After anybody that comes, certain basics are not affected, so no problem. But you now know that, hey, your choice will actually determine your future in the next 4 years. So you see, everybody's trying to vote. And again, the results that are trickling in is reflecting a Nigerian voting population now.
Well, we will not go to the results and what it reflects just yet.
The reflection. And we don't mention any parties that is willing to break loose. Willing. Now, that may not completely ensure victory for maybe upstarts or those that are considered as, outside of the establishment. But it's something that will put even the establishment politicians on their toes now, because they have now seen clearly that Nigerians have the capability to do and undo with their votes.
Well, I mean, even before we get there, it's the fact that people are still out there, still trying to vote and still wondering if they can get that one done. It takes us back to, 2011, 2015, where late into the night, voting was still being done. Even in 2019, I think.
But what is important is for voting to be allowed to be done now.
As long as you're on the queue at 2:30,
as long as you're on the queue, let INEC, make available both materials and some of these devices to make sure that people do not wait this long in vain.
No, but Dr. Major, where I was even coming from is the fact that there were also planned on the part of INEC to decongest polling units and have maybe 700, tops 8,000. So it would be curious to find out why would some polling units have such high number of people.
No, I don't think the polling units per se have this high number of people. I just think that some polling units are clustered in the same location.
Okay.
And so the crowd you see around that location may be for the different polling units.
Like polling unit 111, where you see 6 sub-polling units.
Exactly. And so no matter the spread that INEC has done by way of, decongesting polling units, if you don't arrive on time, even 750 will be a huge challenge for you to accredit and get them to vote before 2:30 p.m. So that's what we are seeing today. So in some places, INEC materials and men arrived past voting time. And so they're all settling down now. 750 is not even a small number, especially when you have to go through the rigors of givers. Yes. So, but the most important thing is we are here. Nigerians are willing to endure all of this. I saw a friend of ours, Charles Ode. He posted something from his polling unit at Gadua, and I was shocked. He said, look, under the rain, they are right now standing under the rain, and they are willing to be here to make that difference with their vote.
Yeah.
So it tells you that, I mean, ordinarily, if Nigerians are not interested in this election, you won't have this number coming out to vote, let alone getting overwhelmed by it. So you would not, you won't see this live turnout. So I'm actually trying to appreciate, so to say, the enthusiasm, the interest that we are seeing. You know, this interest in politics in the last 3 years, since the NSAS protests happened in Nigeria, has ushered in a new era of political engagement in this country. This is the first time in recent times that such very popular youth shows, shows that are very attractive to our young population, appear to have taken a back seat. I'm talking about BBN, either Nigeria or Africa. Sometimes I stumble on it on Facebook and I realize, so this show is actually on. You won't believe that for the first time, Nigeria's election season kind of took the shine completely
away from it, exactly.
Of such distraction. So it tells you how far Nigerians are actually determined. The determination is real.
Yes,
To
real.
make a difference. So I hope it will make a difference. And I hope that this will actually usher in a new era after 24 years of democracy in Nigeria. I hope it will usher in a new era because it's not enough to have a democracy. There are countries that are democratic. They do elections every 4 or 5 years, but they've not been able to achieve development. They've not been able to achieve progress or even growth, socially, economically, and politically. Because it's not enough to just have democracy in terms of the numbers. Democracy must yield dividends in form of improved welfare and security within the framework of good governance for all. But for this to happen, we need to reset our democracy. And I think that the more people come into it, the more the opportunity to have it reset. So the good thing about this election is whoever wins the election, whoever wins, we know that it was a hard-fought battle, tight race. The chances are that they will not take Nigeria for granted anymore. In order not to avert a tipping of the cliff in the next election. Because if Nigerians have come this far to register their discontent with the establishment, that's what it is. It tells you that if they also do not improve on their method of governance as a way of self-preservation, usually, if you want to remain relevant in any system, even in biological sciences, you must be able to adapt continuously to new realities and challenges. Or you go into extinction. So for the establishment not to go into extinction, if they survive this democratic revolution now, if they do, that should be an incentive for them to sit down and begin to do the job of good governance that we are elected to do. Otherwise, it's a matter of time. 4 years is very short. Before you sleep and wake up, it's 4 years.
It's surprising. People are saying 8 years of President Buhari is winding down pretty soon.
Even though the last month of the 80s is looking like forever for people like us.
Quite interesting because of the cash crunch.
It's not the cash crunch. It's looking like forever. It's taking forever. So you guys, people cannot wait for it to come to an end. So they are all out to vote. I'll be sure that the new government comes in. So anyway, we've survived this long. We hope that we don't have to survive Nigeria in the next 4 years. We hope to leave Nigeria in the next 4 years. Live in Nigeria that is secured with adequate welfare for us as citizens too.
All right, we'll keep our fingers crossed and positive for that. We'll go on a break. Dr. Majid, we'll wrap up this segment with you. Any message you want to leave us with?
No, well, the thing is, Nigerians should just remain calm, law-abiding, and press on with their rights to vote for whatever they choose to vote for, and protect their votes at the polling unit and make sure that it counts. And again, INEC and the authorities responsible for election must deliver a credible election at the end of this exercise so as to remove any doubts, of compromise or manipulation, so that the result would have reflected the will of the Nigerian people. And that should be acceptable to all. So we can have a conversation now going forward on how to fix our country.
All right. Tomorrow, the collation starts at noon at the conference center. And I'm sure a lot of people will be waiting with bated breath to get the outcome of that election. And we'll definitely do an analysis of that with you, God's grace.
By the grace of God.
All right, then. Let's go on a very quick break. We'll be back. I'll take more calls. I'll hear more of your experiences, more of the